I didn't know what college to choose in England, but that I would just go to Newbold for college for a year. It's the Seventh-day Adventist College in England. You see, my mom had been, my dad had been, my brother had been, my cousin had been, and my aunt had been, my other aunt and my uncle. It was a family thing. And I thought that the choir looked really pretty in their robes, and I wanted to be in the choir. So I went there for a year, and during that year, I sat next to someone at breakfast one day who was applying for nursing school. So I said, oh, I'll apply for nursing school. And I filled out the application, I submitted it, and I got a place. Started it and hated it, and decided I just want to be back at Newbold College. So I looked at all their curriculums and said, well, I like accounting. I'll do accounting. It's not a good way to choose the rest of your career for the rest of your life. So we're going to be honing in on how to be choosing those careers as well. Then coming on as a parent, unfortunately, I didn't do much better in the parent realm either. My daughter started at Andrews in the fall of 2010, and she'll be graduating in 2 or 3 weeks with her elementary education degree with over $30,000 of debt. So as she went through her high school years, I had no idea, coming from England, what the terms ACT or SAT or FAFSA stood for. I didn't know there were such things as external scholarships or even internal scholarships. I just thought you're going to be paying $20,000, $30,000 a year, and there's no way we can afford that, so there's no way she can go. So what's the point in even looking? So come July 4, she walks into our bedroom and says, Mom, Dad, I want to go to Andrews, and this is how we can afford it. And she showed us how she could, and 6 weeks later, we drove her here. So she and her dad are procrastinators, so I should have known better and been on websites hunting out what to do for and helping the process along. I should have been doing lots of things, and all those things, having now been a recruiter here at Andrews, I'm passionate about and want to share with you today, because I don't want you making all the same mistakes that I did, either as a student or as a parent. So let's launch on in then and see what we can be doing while our kids are still in elementary school. So just to give you some background about what is happening out there in the marketplace with high schoolers at the moment, the new norm that we're finding with the transcripts that are coming in for decisions here at Andrews is a lot of kids are coming with 40 to 70 credits of college already done for free while they're in high school. They go into accelerated programs and they find college classes that complement the high school classes, and they end up getting some tuition for free. So we'll show you how you can do that as well, how you can plan that into a homeschool curriculum. So we're going to be looking at 4 different ways that you can prepare for college during elementary years. I like this verse in Proverbs 22, verse 6. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. It's so true that anything you start off as a child is much easier to form a habit that way. So let's start by looking at the emotional level. Emotions are very important when it comes to college. And this verse in Romans 8:28 says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. So along our journey of life, if we have God with us, then it's going to be a lot easier for us to be able to see his hand at work in our lives. So how do you prepare your child emotionally? What point are they going to be emotionally ready for high school? What point are they going to be emotionally ready for college? So as a parent, you are given that task of preparing emotionally, but it's not really something you think about on an everyday to-day basis. If you have a baby, you teach them how to put their shoes on. If you have a child, you're going to teach them how to make their bed and keep their room tidy. If you have a teenager, you're going to be teaching them how to be responsible with their own phone, and they're going to start making choices about what they want to eat instead of just eating what you say they have to eat. So one of your tasks as a parent is to let go of your child through a gradual process. You wouldn't really see a baby with their own cell phone, and you wouldn't really see a teenager still sleeping every night in the bed with their parents like a newborn baby might. So it's a gradual process to this independence. So how much is a good thing? Well, one would hope that when they leave for college, they'll still want to come back and visit you, that you haven't made them too emotionally detached from you. You still want them to be calling up and asking some advice on the phone. But so many times, I'm also the transfer student counselor here at Andrews, so many times I have seen students and sometimes parents asking, please, could my son Johnny come to Andrews? I know he's got a very low GPA and kind of got F's and D's. It's just kids that end up in college and don't know what to do with all the freedom, and they end up not being able to cope with college. So let's take a look at some of those steps that we really want our kids to be ready for in college emotionally. So the first one is we want them to know how to make well thought out logical decisions. We want them to be able to think appropriately, and to want them to know that when you grow up, or at least know what you like to do, and if you prefer sciences or humanities, or if you want a desk job, or if you want to be serving people, they have to be able to think through logically career choices, and like me, not just choose nursing because somebody sitting next to you is putting an application in for nursing. They need to know how to manage their time. You'll need to be able to make the choice of staying home from an all-night party to finish that paper that's due at 8 o'clock in the morning, instead of saying, well, I'll just go to midnight and then I'll come home and write that paper and fall asleep while you're doing it. So you also want to be able to make sure you know how to budget time throughout a semester, because a lot of professors make things due on the same day, and you have to realize that and plan ahead and make sure you're working on them in time. You want to be able to manage your time so that you might be able to squeeze in that part-time job and earn some fees. You also want to be able to know how to build friendships. It might seem basic, but friendships can be character building or not so character building. When you're on campus, you want to be able to choose your friends wisely. If you want to do your homework, you want to choose friends that also want to do homework. And if you want to follow God when you're in college, you want to be able to choose friends that want to make that same choice too. College is all about newness and change, and so you need to be open to newness and be ready for newness when you come to college. If you can't survive that, you're going to find it very hard to settle in and adjust to everything going on. But most importantly, you need to be able to ask and recognize when you do need to ask for help. You want to know at the appropriate point when it is to pick up the phone and call home, or ask mom and dad if you happen to be doing college from living at home. At college, you need to know that the residence halls deans are there for you, or campus ministries, or your professors as well. So it's important to recognize when it's appropriate to ask for help, and not at the end of semester when you're floundering and the grades are dropping. So preparing for emotionally, give your child space to do all these things before they leave home. Guide them to independence while you can still be there for them when they fall and need picking up. It is believed seriously that a child is finished being raised by the age of 12, and after that you're just gently nudging them through decisions. They're independent thinkers by then. So, for example, my 15-year-old just got her first job, and what I gave her with that was her first budget. And she's now in charge of paying for her own cell phone, her school trips. We'll cover tuition, and she pays everything else, her clothes, her gifts, and her church donations. I'm there to show her how to do this, but she's the one that chooses how much she spends on each thing. So it's a part of her, she's making decisions, but I'm also there to point her in the right direction and help her along. You also need to be able to, when a child has a doctor's appointment, to let them do the talking. That was so hard for me. Also, if you will happen to walk into a Taco Bell or any other fast food restaurant, just let them place the order themselves. Don't do the talking for them. It's amazing how much their confidence can grow and decision-making can develop by just doing these two simple little things after the age of 12 or so. So now let's turn to spiritual. This is a favorite verse of mine. For I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing shall be able to separate us from the love of God which is in Christ Jesus. When you or your child leaves home, we don't want anything to separate us from God. We don't want anything. Sadly to say, though, there is a statistic out there that says that 75% of Christian high schoolers who declare that they are a Christian in high school will actually not be a Christian by the end of the freshman year of college. And I've heard rumors that that's pretty much true in the Seventh-day Adventist realm of young people as well. So this is a very important platform for this webinar because nothing matters but the kingdom. So if your child is not connected to Jesus Christ before they leave home and you send them to an Adventist college, don't expect that that's a guarantee that they'll find Jesus at the college because there's people with many walks of life on every single campus. But if they're connected to Christ before they leave for college, then they're going to make those friends that are connected to Christ and they're going to have a wonderful influence. So preparing spiritually, it starts right from the day that that child is conceived. It starts with you, the parent. The parent needs to be 100% dedicated to Christ so that your child can see Christ through you. This is the most powerful impact that you can have on your child. You can do all the right things, but your child will not become a Christian unless you can be all the right things, not just say them. So it starts from the beginning. But you know what? If it hasn't started from the beginning, then now is the best time to start. Then start right now. You want your child to be able to think independently about religious things and express their religious thoughts while they're still at home. You don't want to be dictating to them what they should believe in. Questioning is a way a child develops their spirituality. And if they're questioning it at home in a safe environment where your thoughts and feelings can still be a chance to be influenced instead of their peers, it's a wonderful thing. You want them to have a good relationship with you so they feel free to be able to share these thoughts and discoveries that they're making through their Christian walk. So talk to your teenager about the spiritual challenges that they're going to face when they go on to college. They're going to be, if they're moving away from home, they're going to leave their whole network. They're going to leave you, their parent, living right with them. They're going to leave their friends, probably. They're going to leave the church, the local church, and some mentors that they probably have in that church. And they're going to be walking out into a place where they're very vulnerable. So they really do need a foundation before they go in order to be able to survive. Before and during and after this process, it's essential to pray continuously. It might seem like an obvious thing, but I have to remind myself every day, I need to pray for my kids, the one that's just finishing and the one that's in high school. So there's a spiritual warfare going on in these young people's lives. It's the devil's last place really to get them, because college is where our minds are cemented for the path that we're going to be going on in our adult lives. So praying is definitely arming them with the best possible weapons. There is a book that I read in preparing for this webinar, and that's actually where I read the statistic. It's called Lost in Transition by Tommy McGregor. It says Lost in Transition, Becoming Spiritually Prepared for College. It's just a little green book that I got for a not bad price on Amazon. And these are two quotes that are in the book. The one of them I shared was 75% of Christian high schoolers drift away from growth in their relationship with Jesus within 12 months of graduation. That's high school graduation. And then to succeed at this level of life, you have to put to use all that you have learned up to this point. So you want it to be good things that have been learned. Yeah. The last chapter in the book was a major revelation for me, and I thought it was very good. So I want to share with you what the last chapter was about. Tommy McGregor said that you really want, as a parent, to be able to sit down with your child during their senior year of high school and talk with them about what is your mission statement in life. As a business student, I have an accounting degree background, as I said. Every business starts off their philosophy and their values with a mission statement. So as a young person leaving home, why not start out with that same process? You want to be able to think long and deep about what your purpose is in life and who you are going to represent when you walk onto that college campus. It's going to give you something to focus on. I then suggest typing that mission statement up and framing it and giving it to them as a framed picture to put up on the wall of their college dorm. So when they get tempted, it's there as a reminder. If they have worship in the mornings, then they can think about what they said a year ago and just think about, well, how can I put that mission statement into play today? So here's a couple of examples that I found on missionstatements.com. Always a .com for everything, I believe. It says, my mission is to be a true disciple of Jesus Christ, walking the hard road and taking up my cross daily to do so. Here's another example. My mission in life is to serve God by being a beacon of light, a bridge of understanding, a tower of integrity, and a cast of realized dreams. So if your young person has a mission statement as such up on the wall of their halls of residence, I think it will really help them keep to focus in mind what their thoughts and feelings were before they arrived on the campus. Moving on to financial. This was a big deal for me in getting my daughter ready for college. And Philippians 4:19 says, and my God will meet all your needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus. God will meet all our needs if we seek his will for our lives. So, and that means financial as well. So preparing financially, planning ahead is probably the best and wisest thing to do. Nothing can seem to go wrong if you plan ahead, right? Well, that kind of went wrong for our family too. So we did not plan ahead. We, being a homeschooler webinar, you are homeschool parents, so you don't actually have the day-to-day cost of putting your child through SDA Adventist education from K through 12. So maybe it's a time where you could be putting money aside each month for college payments, planning ahead. There are, in the start saving part of planning ahead, there are pre-tax options. If you talk to a retirement broker, they can definitely lead you in ways where you could be putting pre-tax dollars into college funds for your kids. If they're from the age of 0 to 5, that's the best time to start, only a few dollars a week, and you'll have $70,000, $80,000 there sitting for college. But as you're probably like me and you've got your kids in high school now, so what can you do from when they're in high school and planning and putting together a plan for financial cost? Well, I truly think that high school students should get a job. I got my daughter to get a job, and she's already saving up for her first car or college fees. It's more than just saving up and managing a budget. It's also about having to learn that time management skill. Juggling school with a job is another skill that is very good to learn, as well as learning about the value of money and how much it does cost for everything. So I covered on the start saving for the parents, but start saving for the kids. There are some college majors that will require a car. One of them I can think of is nursing, where you have to go to a hospital to do some of your practical. Another one is teaching, where you have to go to a school to do your practical experience. one way that my husband and I are trying to get ahead now for our younger one going into college is that we're making extra payments on the mortgage. We're not just making those minimum payments. I have also had friends who have planned right from when they bought the house, when their kids were a baby, with a 15-year mortgage payment plan. And by the time the kids get into high school and college, they're done with the mortgage, and all the money from the mortgage then goes on to college tuition payments. It's also a great way of saving interest expense and money. And the way that my husband and I decided to afford our college expenses was in the middle of my daughter's college education, when we were not able to send her back her junior year. We moved here, and I was blessed to be able to have the job that I have now. So Seventh-day Adventist employment can give some tuition benefits, but you've got to make sure it's your calling, to make sure that you are having the employment for the right reasons. I'm just saying that there are some jobs that really can help in meeting tuition bills. And then teach your kids how to manage their budget, so that once they're actually in college, and maybe they've got a job in college, they'll actually be able to help put money towards the school bill with the money they're earning. I remember when I was in college, every week I would get my paycheck from Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I would take I'd take 90% of it, and I would give it to the school cashier every week, and she'd be expecting me every week, and just had that tiny little bit to finish when we paid off. So teaching your kids the value of money so that they know how to be frugal when they're in college is also an important skill to be able to afford college. Moving on into academics. It's this verse from Psalms 119, verse 66 says, "Teach me good judgment and knowledge, for I have believed thy commandments." Psalms from 119. This is a true gem. There's so many gems in the long chapter of 119, but academics is about teaching good judgment and knowledge. So I thought it was an appropriate text to put in here. So what can we do in the elementary years to be ready for college? So I don't believe you should start kindergarten very early. Especially as homeschoolers, I know you believe in that. I was actually began to see the benefits of homeschooling children when my daughter, my younger one, was in first grade. And I spent a little bit of time, or actually my older one, being homeschooled that year, was popping into the classroom all the time and helping out. And she would tell me stories about what's happening. And there was this one super intelligent little boy in that classroom who couldn't read yet, which meant he couldn't do his math, which meant he couldn't really do anything in the classroom. And the kids started making fun of him and calling him dumb because he couldn't do anything. Whereas in fact, he was actually a very intelligent little boy. He just wasn't ready to sit down and learn yet. So don't start the process too soon, because they're soon going to catch up. But what you do want to do is encourage your child to do their best. One little story here. I actually became the mum to my older daughter when I married her dad, and she was 6 years old. Her previous mum had passed away with cancer, so I was taking on everything. It wasn't a split home. And looking back on her first grade report card tells a very interesting story. It has 11 absences, 45 tardies, and an N in Bible class, which means needs improvement. So the 11 days absence was because her dad and I got married, and we had to go to England for that. And then the tardies were equally split before and after. Being newlyweds, we actually did give her quite a few tardies, unfortunately. And it wasn't until the end of the year when I saw her report card that I knew she'd had a Bible verse to memorize each week. I was floundering, being a new parent and having a first grade. I hadn't a clue what I was doing. Needless to say, second grade was a much, much more success because I was there from the beginning and knew the routine. So keeping involved with your child, even if in later years you decide that your child is now going into regular school after being homeschooled, there's still things that you can do to be involved and to know what's happening with your child. and to encourage them in the right direction. But do be careful. Don't encourage too much so that they get stressed out and get overstressed and end up with ulcers or something. Sorry, excuse me. If you're homeschooling, I'm sure you are creative in the space that you use in your house. Even if it's just a bookcase, you want to be able to structure your day around the classroom and not the other way around. My girls started succeeding better in school when I realized that I had to bring them straight home from school and to get them on with homework instead of saying, oh, let's just pop to the shop and do this, or let's go do this and have some fun there. No, we came straight home and did homework, and grades got better. So monitoring your child's grades, I kind of touched on that, but we started homeschooling our older daughter for 9th grade when we moved state. She didn't want to go into school. She was too shy. So we said, okay, we'll homeschool you. We started teaching her through a cyber school, being our first homeschool experience, and found it wasn't a good fit for her. We started her in Algebra 1 just because she had done pre-algebra at the previous school, and realized that she was failing the class. So my best friend's husband, who's a professor in math at one of our Adventist universities, suggested that we just give her a test and put her back if we need to. So we did. We tested her out and put her 2 years behind in math. She had actually fallen 2 years behind in one of our Adventist academies just because she doesn't like math. So she did catch up eventually and did manage to get a 22 on her ACT score for math. But I kind of wish I'd been monitoring that and seeing that progress happening instead of having to put her back and then having to catch up. It did cause some hiccups there for our high school math. So as homeschoolers too, you are involved in extracurricular activities. They are such an important part of life. Life is too short to spend it all in study books or sitting at a desk, so go out and have some fun after the reading, writing, and arithmetic is done. Lots can be achieved through different classes in swimming and being part of a team, as Lego, learning how to follow instructions, or horseback riding, or Pathfinders and Adventurers. There's so much out there that can complement the learning. And now we are going to move into the high school years, and we're going to cover the academics or preparing academically during this next section. There's going to be a lot of detail in this section, more so than you found in the last section. But I do want to reassure you at this stage that we're going to share our emails with you at the end. And feel free to email in and say, hey, can I have your handouts? Because we do have some detailed handouts for you. So please feel free to do that. So at this point, Ashley is going to start joining us here. Okay, so I'll hand over to Ashley.
Definitely. Thank you, Kayleen. Well, we've covered the pre-high school years, and now we'll, as Kayleen said, be covering tips and tricks for freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year in high school. So this is going to be important information for parents of high schoolers or pre-high schoolers, and also if you're a student yourself. I hope that this will come in handy. We have another verse here that means a lot to us, and it's on your screen there. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty, in Proverbs 21:5. And as you are starting perhaps your high school experience, you need to know that you're laying a foundation for all 4 years, your freshman year. So you need to know what your goals are that year and not be hasty in that. So that's why this verse does mean a lot to us and should to you as well as high school students. But most importantly, the plans that you lay out need to be what God has planned for your personal life or for your child. And as we've discussed, prayer is extremely important. Praying continuously for your child's career and your choice of a college has to be a part of your daily walk with God. And we'll be talking about a few of the different types of diplomas that you can actually receive within high school. After a good foundation in your elementary school years, it's really essential that your freshman year starts off well. And when you end 8th grade, when you graduate from 8th grade, and over that summer, you need to be thinking about the classes that you'll be taking for your 9th grade year, your freshman year. And these choices end up deciding the type of career path you'll be taking and which high school diploma will be best to prepare you for that path. So these are a few of the diplomas that are offered at the high school level, the first being technical or vocational. So the short description of this is basically technical vocational. Students complete a mixture of various academic courses and technical or vocational courses. I think a brief example of this, down the road from us in South Bend, Indiana, we have a beauty school, for instance, and I interact with other students that maybe are doing nursing classes or engineering courses at a technical school that prepare them for a very specific career. Another diploma is a general high school diploma. So students along this path achieve a very specific number of credits in high school and maintain a minimum GPA. That's their requirement. A college preparatory diploma, I think that's the one that I completed in high school, and that's very common even in our Adventist academies. Students finish a state-mandated curriculum of courses. They have to also maintain a certain GPA level. And this gives you good preparation for particular college entrance exams and tests. The fourth type of diploma, honors college preparatory. So students here complete also a state mandated curriculum. It's complemented though by some pretty rigorous coursework. Students here are expected to maintain, of course, a certain GPA and achieve high academic levels. We'll be talking a little bit later about AP courses or advanced placement courses and dual enrollment possibilities. Students on the honors college prep curriculum and path have those AP and dual credit possibilities especially. So we also have the International Baccalaureate diploma. So students here complete that same state mandated curriculum. It's complemented by the rigorous coursework. They're expected to maintain that GPA. So some of the similarities previously, but the difference is they have the option to receive college credit within higher level classes. It's a internationally recognized college preparatory program and is accepted by many universities worldwide. Continuing with freshman year, college preparation does and must start early for you, for sure. Basic career choices need to begin early, and freshman year along those lines counts in many ways for those decisions. So high school is about academics, but that's not all that is a part of it. There are other things to do as well. And freshman year, high school is a time to explore your options and discover what your passions are in life. It's a time to get involved and learn how to be a team player and a leader as well. It is a time as well to really remember who created you as a person, who made you, and who gives you your strengths and gifts and the reason for being who you are as a special person of God. So God is the only reason for us living on this earth, and our lives should be lived for him. And he, of course, needs to be, as we said, incorporated into all of these decisions that you make, especially during your high school years. Sophomore year.
Okay. Our verse is, "Brothers, I do not consider that I have made it on my own, but one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus." It's in Philippians 3. Sophomore, you can feel like, oh, the end isn't in sight. I haven't started. It's not fresh. It's not all new. But this verse is acknowledging that you're not making it on your own. You're making it with Christ, and you are pressing towards your goal. And so I thought I really liked how it kind of fitted in with the mindset of what a sophomore students might be. And so what should you do in the sophomore year? You've laid the foundation, you've laid the plans of the freshman year. So let's see what you can be doing in the sophomore year. Well, first thing, you want to find as you're picking your classes for the sophomore year, you want to be taking some challenging courses. So you don't want to just take the easy way out. Maybe you could squeeze in 2 years of language into one, for instance, and get ahead a little bit ahead that way if language is your thing. Or, and just make sure you're doing the math that comes after next, and keep your mind keeping up with the challenging math classes and not stop just because you think you've got enough math yet. You want to focus on your grades. Just remember that every single grade that you collect from freshman through junior, end of junior year, is what the prospective colleges are going to be looking at. So every grade is going to matter. And sometimes colleges look and see if you've repeated classes too. So every grade does matter. Sophomore year is a time also to be thinking about, what do I want to do with my life? Let's start actually making some conscious decisions here of exploring. So you as parents might know what your child is running through their head and what they think they might want to do. And maybe you've got some friends in those fields, or your spouse does one of those fields. And some Meet a Pro is what I put down for job shadowing. I think job shadowing is actually quite important, to be able to actually go out and observe somebody in a field that you think you might be interested in doing. I come back to my daughters frequent times because that's where I've done a lot of learning. My older daughter, for example, if she had done some job shadowing, at least at a hospital, she would have known that nursing was not the major to declare when she arrived on freshman campus. Just the thought of working at a hospital heaves her stomach. So then at the end of her third semester of being a nursing student, over Christmas, she declared a speech pathology major. When she came home at the end of the sophomore year, and we weren't planning on having her come back to Andrews, we said, well, let's go out and do some job shadowing. So I made some connections at church, and she got to be able to go to a school and observe a speech pathologist. And she came home and she said, no, I think I need to change my mind again. And she's graduating with elementary education, which is a wonderful fit for her. So it's a good choice now. So job shadowing can really lead you through choices before you're wasting money on college tuition and wasted classes, because she's graduating with about 20 or 30 extra credits that she didn't need. Next, stay involved at school. Stay involved with the Pathfinders if you are. There might be some Adventist colleges or other colleges that will give you leadership scholarships. Andrew's one of them for the TLT program. That's definitely a leadership training program and can give you some leadership tuition discounts. So keep involved with what you're doing and in projects and stuff, because it might lead to help in college later on. You want to start getting to know what colleges and universities are out there during sophomore year. I'm actually thinking mostly this will happen on the web, that you'll be searching around on the web, looking and seeing, just reading about the colleges and universities, thinking of where you'd like to be and looking at what's in the area, and just doing some web surfing. However, though, if your parents do happen to be taking a trip near, or a vacation, or visiting some family near one of those colleges you're scouting out, then yes, contact the admissions department and go and do a visit. You know, you're saving yourself $500 maybe for an air flight there later on. So just contact the admissions department and do their official student visit. You want to be able to start looking at scholarships. I've got some more detail later on about how to look for scholarships, but just remember that they are an important factor about being able to afford college. So you can start scouting around for them in your sophomore year, because maybe there's some things that interest you that you can do to be able to earn that scholarship. We also recommend taking your SAT or ACT in your sophomore year. Few reasons for this. You'll actually get your score back and you'll look at it and you'll say, oh, I thought I was going to do a lot better than that. I guess I'd better practice some more. Or you'll say, or you might want to do it because you want to do some college enrichment classes in your junior year, and as a homeschooler, at Andrews, we actually require you have an ACT or SAT score in order to be able to do that. So it might be a prerequisite for something you want to do in your junior year. So we really recommend that you get a head start on the SAT or the ACT right here in your sophomore year. And then in your sophomore year, you are going to start choosing a major. You're going to be deciding, do I like my science classes, or do I like my English classes, or do I really like helping people? And then you can start exploring careers in those different categories. So you're going to be starting narrowing it down to categories. Okay.
Ready?
Yes. There you go, junior year now.
Junior year. Yeah, and sophomore year, you feel like you're not anywhere near graduation, and junior year, you're creeping a little bit closer. But junior year is really when the going gets a little tough, actually, and the end is not quite in sight yet. But this verse in 2 Chronicles, chapter 15, verse 7, it's perfect and certainly gives encouragement for those tough times that you may experience or have experienced in your junior year. And it says, "But you take courage, do not let your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded." Junior year is really crucial, as is all 4 years, but junior year, your grades matter a lot. And the reason we say that is because at the end of your junior year, all of those culminating scores from freshman, sophomore, junior year is actually what many colleges, universities, Andrews included, look at to determine your admissions decision. And that's one reason why grades matter most junior year. Now, we also, as a point for parents, want you to remember to talk with your child or your children about career choices and college. You, as parents, are unique in that you know your child best and can offer advice that no one else really can. You hold really the key to the finances regarding college as well, so it's good to be on the same page when it comes to their choices, and to also listen to them, listen to their goals and desires as well. Be realistic, but aim high. And it's important to know the entrance requirements regarding programs or careers that you're looking into, and to make sure that your grades in high school are matching up to those goals. And for an example, here at Andrews, we have a physical therapy degree. It's very rigorous. So let's say your child chooses physical therapy, but they're not making straight A's in high school. It's a highly competitive, physical therapy is a highly competitive program, and you basically need about a 4.0 GPA to participate in that program. So you want to set your goals and work towards them, but in a realistic way, being willing to have a second option, a backup option if needed. Lastly, compare your colleges. So junior year, again, is a time to become more serious about your college search. You want to be spending time reading websites thoroughly, college websites, scholarships as well, and narrow down your choices through that process. So you want to search for colleges really based on the career choice that you're interested in. Along those lines too, we want to make sure that you're talking to recruiters from these schools that you're interested in. If you schedule a campus visit, those recruiters are often there to speak with you about those programs too. You'll want to make sure that you're asking them really particular questions that are going to give you insights to what the school is about more than what you can really find out through a website. So we have some example questions here, and I'll read them slowly, maybe to give you some time to jot them down, because these are really crucial. So you want to make sure to ask questions such as, why should I choose your college? Tell me more about this particular program. And what makes your university stand out from the crowd, from others? What's your student to teacher ratio? So that's going to tell you the basic class size at the college. How many students are involved in research? What's your graduation and retention rate? what resources do you have that will help me succeed at your school? And I think we said before too, if you weren't able to catch all of those, we're happy to provide you a copy of this presentation as well at the end. So again, moving on with junior year, after being able to ask all of these questions, you want to start narrowing down your choices of colleges. So make some decisions about all of the colleges that you've called and interacted with. Could you see your child really studying there? You'll want to ask if their philosophy of education will really fit with your personal philosophies, and if that particular school will be a good influence for your child's spirituality and in other areas of their life as well. More advice, visit a short list of 3 to 6 colleges. So once you have a list of about 3 to 6 schools, you want to prioritize them and again start visiting them in order of your highest choice first. Your campus visits could be done throughout the school year or even the summertime before your senior year, so that you don't feel as much of a burden doing it all in 1 month. And always present yourself well to the college that you're looking at. So it's a very good habit to get into. You want the admissions departments that you meet with and the professors that you talk with to get to know you well, understand you as a person, and they're really crucial in your admissions process as well. So again, making sure that you present yourself well to them. First impressions matter, and again, along those lines, that's presenting yourself well, right? Even if you may feel a little bit introverted, you wanna make yourself stand out in the sense of even pushing yourself beyond maybe what your default personality would be. So be present on their campus, make sure you're asking those questions and come prepared as well. Applying for external scholarships is hugely, hugely important. It can be a bit of a part-time job looking for these external scholarships, but they stack on top of anything that a school is going to be offering you as well for merit-based scholarships. So for external scholarships, you want to spend time also searching online and start applying for some of these scholarships even your junior year. You want to make sure you note any due dates for those applications and make sure you apply on time or within the window that they provide. So a couple of tips there that you want to make sure that you're not paying to apply for these scholarships. So they should be free applications for these external scholarships, and also make sure you're not giving out your social security number at all when you're doing the application. Search engines like Zinch.com, that's Zinch.com. Zinch.com is a scholarship search engine site, and you'll also want to start looking locally, for instance, at the Chamber of Commerce or even your local bank for scholarships, so you can narrow down your search instead of just competing against other students on a national level. Be sure that you stay involved still your junior year. Stay involved in your school, in your community, in your church family. Remember that being busy helps you learn time management skills, as well as giving you a good work ethic. And both of these skills you will need at the college level. All right, academically junior year, you've heard of the SAT as an important standard college entrance test, and typically the SAT is taken your senior year, though I think we recommended taking it sophomore year as well. Sophomore, junior year, you'll have the opportunity to do what's called the PSAT. And the P here stands for the word practice, which is basically a special practice test for juniors for the SAT their senior year. And the PSAT is important too, because not only is it a practice test for the SAT, but you want to take this seriously because it gets you on the track for potentially becoming a national merit finalist. And you become a national merit finalist within this program if you achieve excellent top-rated scores on the PSAT and also the SAT. Schools across the U.S., including Andrews, offer 100% tuition scholarships to many of these national merit finalists. Stay on track with your high school diploma. So you want to make sure that you are on track with meeting your graduation requirements, and in other words, exploring options as well having to do, we mentioned, with AP classes or dual enrollment even at one of your local colleges or community colleges or universities there closer to where you live. And we'll touch more on dual enrollment opportunities even here at Andrews a little bit later. But be sure that if you are on the technical track for one of those high school diplomas, we mentioned that you sign up for those classes that follow that particular plan as well. So we're moving on to another crucial year, but thankfully the last year of high school.
That's right.
The most exciting year, I'd say, senior year.
Yes, and be careful not to have senioritis because, yes, you still need the senior year here to finish off. So this verse here, Philippians 4, verse 8, is a good thought to ponder as you're moving through your final senior year, that we want to dwell on things that are noble and just and pure and lovely, because these things are praiseworthy and we need to meditate on these things. So you've come a long way since this freshman year, and now it's time to dive into this senior year. This year counts just as much, even if it's the grades won't be on your transcript when you send it off for college applications. They will eventually look at it, and maybe, if you've still got to be good, because there's things that's going to rest on this, maybe like some merit-based scholarships. So remember to ask God for guidance and wisdom every day, and don't lose the momentum that you've kept up the past 3 years. So because senior year is more like taking a deep breath and diving in, I've divided it into 2 semesters because there's things that you should be doing each semester. So during the fall semester, there's only 3 things. First thing is wrap up the visits to the colleges and universities. Maybe the first 3 you visit just didn't feel like the fit that you were looking for, so you have to add another 3 to the list, or you have to keep on looking. So wrap up those visits, and once you've got those choices narrowed down, in October, November time, you want to actually submit the application. So each university has a different application. You just have to follow the links that they have on their website. And then most of the time, you're not actually finished once you submit the application. Here at Andrews, you do have to submit some supporting documents after the application. The 2 things that we look for after the application are submitted is your 6th semester transcript, freshman, sophomore, junior transcript, as well as SAT or ACT scores. So don't think that just once the application has been submitted, that you're done, because that might not be the case. It's amazing how many applications we have just sitting out there, making phone call after phone call, asking for these other documents to be submitted. So remember to send them in. Keep your options open. You never know what's going to happen. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, as they say. Remember to finish the application process and get decisions from at least 3 choices, because you might make a twist at the end and you might end up somewhere you weren't expecting, just because God seems to be leading you in that direction. Coming back to homeschool families, and you might say, well, that's good and everything for someone who's in a traditional school, but what do you want of homeschoolers? Well, read the websites closely and see what they say about homeschoolers. If they don't talk about it in particular, then give the college a call. Call them up, one of the recruiters, and say, hey, what do you do for homeschoolers? I'll just share with you what we do for Andrews. It's actually no different. We actually accept mommy's transcript as long as it comes with the SAT or ACT test scores. If we receive it via email without a signature, it's unofficial, but by putting a parent signature on it makes it official. So it makes it very easy as a homeschooler. And I'll share with you some resources later on about where to help you put a transcript together and everything. So when you start the spring semester, you've probably got your decisions, but just in case, I still put up there follow-up visits of colleges, universities if needed. You never know, you might want to go back somewhere for a second time just to double make sure, or you've got some concerns and questions, or there's just some things you'd like to do in person. Doing something over the spring semester, especially when they've opened up class registration, taking a visit, you might actually be able to register for classes in person with an advisor, which might be very helpful if you're like me and much prefer doing things with people in person rather than via email. So there might be some college university visits that take place in spring semester, early summer. As parents, you're going to be thinking about that FAFSA application. It is a joint process between you and your child. There are two things that need to happen before you start the FAFSA. The first one is you as parents need to have your tax return filed. And you as kids need to file your tax return if you've got jobs. Both of those are going to be important. In the FAFSA application, you will actually click on some buttons and go to the IRS website and import your tax returns into the FAFSA application. It's that closely linked. If you're self-employed and you don't normally finish your tax return by, let's say, June, July, August, or October 15, the extension, then don't worry. The October 15 date really is not good. We had to do it 1 year, and it was major financial nightmare of clearance. I do recommend getting it filed at least by the time school starts. But by February time, you really want to have a good estimate of what your tax return is going to be, because you can do the FAFSA with estimates if needed. The FAFSA becomes the bouncing board, or the platform, I should say, of how our financial counselors work in giving a financial plan. I'm sure other colleges and universities work that way as well. So you also want to be looking at state deadlines. Here in Michigan, we have a state deadline of March 1, where there's priority processing if you're filed before that date for available state funds. Some states have that, some states don't. So you'll be looking around the FAFSA website to see what the state requirements are for deadlines and make sure you're meeting them. Talk with financial advisors. I've heard stories with students that I've worked with as they come in and out of my office, and with friends of my kids as well, that having a personal one-on-one relationship with a financial advisor is a good assurance if something goes wrong. I know there was one friend of my daughter's in particular who had a financial crisis while in college, and because she had been into the financial advisor in person to do everything, she went in, and the financial advisor was able to make some phone calls, pull some strings, and because he knew her situation and knew that she was trustworthy and would follow through on promises and things like that, was able to make sure that she could still attend the following semester. So always do things in person with the financial advisor if possible. So when you're doing your college visits, doing a follow-up one when you've decided where you're going can be very useful to begin that personal relationship with these people. They're going to become more than your advisor. They're going to become your friend, because they're going to know every single financial detail about you and your family. Yeah, that's just the way it works. Registering for classes is going to happen before you come to campus. Here at Andrews, it opens up at the beginning of April for new students. And I do always recommend that you register for classes early. You can always register at more than one university if you haven't quite decided where you're going, if it doesn't cost you anything to do that. Just because registering early can give you a good class schedule. For instance, here at Andrews, our freshmen do get the classes they want and they need, but sometimes there's multiple sections for a class. So if you register early, you're going to get a nice, pretty, neat schedule that will flow nicely and will mean that you'll be able to have more opportunities to get a job on campus, or you'll be able to block your time more and manage your time a little bit better. So early registration of classes is a good thing. Another thing that you get to do before coming on campus is to apply for a residence hall. And each school is going to be different about how and when this happens. So you just want to follow the directions that you're given in your acceptance packet in taking care of housing needs. Also, during your senior year, maybe in the spring semester, but it might even happen in the fall semester, you'll want to retake the SAT or ACT. If when you took it in your sophomore year it wasn't good enough for college acceptance, then I recommend taking it very early at the beginning of your senior year, and then maybe even taking it again at the end of your senior year. But you do want to take it at the end of your senior year, even if you've got an acceptance, because you might be able to get more merit-based scholarship. So I do recommend keeping going with taking it again. Okay, so let's talk now about transitioning into college. So I'm going to hand it back to Ashley here.
Yeah, and I'd like to make a point on the retaking ACT or SAT. Another good reason to do that is super scoring.
Yes, right? Explain what super scoring is. It's an unusual term.
It is an unusual term. Super scoring essentially is when a college or university is able to take the highest subject scores from your ACT or SAT and average those out. We see time and time again that will allow a student to bump into a next level scholarship by retaking one or both of those tests. So it doesn't just mean taking your highest score from each test, but we're looking at how well you did on each subject. And we'll be able to reevaluate those scores if you are retaking one of those tests. So just wanted to mention that. We want to offer a bit of advice as well on, now you maybe have graduated and are trying to choose out of those 3 to 6 colleges that you narrowed it down to, trying to make the best choice possible. And we believe that transitioning to college is really all about trusting in God and His plan for you. And so we think that this verse here is really appropriate. Proverbs 3, 5 to 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. So it is your senior year. Let's imagine it's your senior year. You have just participated in graduation, which is really exciting. So you made it to the end of your high school years. But now, what do? What is next? A summer really of being nervous about going to college is probably what is next. But you'll need to learn through that process to really put your trust and faith in God and His plan for you. So make sure that you keep close to Him throughout high school, but even the summer following. Choosing the right college. So when you are choosing a college, what are some things that you should consider? We went over questions to ask a recruiter from these schools, and now that you have all of that information, what are some more questions that you should be asking yourself to make this personal choice? Your choice should be guided by your own values and beliefs and goals. But here again, we've put together some helpful questions. So the first one is, where can I study the program of my choice? You may feel like you've found the perfect college for you. And if so, you'll want to make sure that they have the program that you're looking for, and find another option if this particular school does not have the program you're wanting. You might want to consider a program or a college, those items at the same time, and make sure you're finding one that fits both of those categories. You might want to consider choosing a college that has a lot of programs to choose from that are well-rounded, and not necessarily pick a specialty right away. And this has become because a lot of college students change their major about 3 to 4 times in their their college experience before they actually graduate. I know I changed mine about 3 times, so I'm definitely in the majority of that statistic as well. So another consideration is how far do you want to be away from home? You might be ready personally to leave home and go to college out of state, for instance, or a few hours away, but just consider it realistically. Do you really want to go 2,000 or 3,000 miles away and only be able to come home 2 or 3 weeks per year? You maybe then want a college that's only 2 to 4 hours away. That may be a better choice for you. So that's something to consider as well. Another question to ask yourself, do I want to start at a 2-year college and then move or transfer? This is a popular trend these days, and this may be a good option for you if you are attempting to save some money and help you and your family financially. But sometimes it's interesting, the cost of transferring in after doing 2 years at a community college or achieving your associate's degree can actually become a little bit more expensive. It's really rare when someone who has studied at a 2-year college actually manages to finish their degree in 4 years, which is the average time span for a degree. So an extra year in college can cost more money, and you would end up losing, that year of earning potential at the end of graduation. So consider your options and crunch the numbers, and of course make the best choice for you. You'll want to ask yourself, do I want to go to an accredited SDA college or an independent non-accredited SDA college? We'll break this down a little bit for you. So this is an important decision to make before you start college. We have observed time and again and seen the disappointment on transfer students in particular trying to come to Andrews University to finish their bachelor's degrees. And then maybe they realize that they won't actually be able to transfer their credits from the independent Adventist college that they attended. If they studied theology, for instance, at that independent college, we're more likely to accept their credits, but you don't want to count on moving to, say, the master's degree level until you have a fully accredited college degree. So we do feel here at Andrews that these independent, non-accredited Adventist colleges have their place absolutely and value. They have value in a young person's life, but just be prepared and be realistic about it. Be prepared that not all of your credits there may count academically towards, say, Andrews or another school. Last question, is college even the right choice for me right now in my life? Maybe you or your child might do better at college if they mature for another year or so before you send them to be a full-time student. It might give them a bit of time to work through more career options as well, do job shadowing, for instance, as we mentioned earlier. We'd like to highlight another book that we'd like to recommend to you. This is actually a book that in our enrollment office we have been reading over the last several months, and it's called Why College Matters to God, and it's by Rick Ostrander, who is president, I believe, of Cornerstone.
He's in some financial academic high up position at one of the independent Christian,
which is here in Michigan. So anyways, we certainly recommend this book, Why College Matters to God, and it's helped us even learn reasonings why Andrews as a Christian institution has value in light of some particular trends these days. So in the book, the author talks about why going to a Christian college as opposed to a public college could be in you or your child's best interests. And we'll just share a couple of quotes from the book here, and you should be able to see them on your screen there as well. Our Christian worldview affects the subject we study, but the truth learned in that subject may in turn influence our Christian worldview. This back and forth process continues throughout our lives as Christian learners. So you need to ask yourself again, do you want to be learning, for instance, history from an atheist professor and miss all of the wonderful religious gems that can be found in studying something like history. You want to maybe take a philosophy class, and then you're told by your professor on the first day that he is an atheist and will have all of his students believing the same as him by the end of the class. That's an interesting situation to be in, and I think Kayleen has a special story about that.
That was actually my husband's experience at a state university. He went into philosophy class, and the professor swore that they'd all be atheists by the end. I can't remember if he dropped out of the class or what his grade was, but he was pretty much guaranteed he would not get an A or a B in that class because he disagreed with the teacher.
Yeah, so that's not a situation that is out of the question by any means. It certainly does happen. The last quote we'd like to share from Why College Matters to God is this: more than just the relationship between professor and student, the integration of faith and learning affects the actual classroom environment itself. So, these are a couple of gems from this book, but we hope that you'll be able to consider this in light of your college options and go out and read it for yourself.
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, just coming back to my personal story of my older daughter leaving Andrews at the end of the sophomore year and coming home back to California and going along to a local community college. She lasted 3 weeks. That was her sum total of public education, because she found that not only were her science classes have evolution in them, her English class did and her history class did, and just about every class she was taking had evolution in it. And if she didn't agree with the teacher, she was going to be labeled and she wouldn't be getting that 4.0 GPA that she was used to getting here at Andrews. We actually packed up our family and moved here to Michigan so that she could come back here at Christmas. So she took a semester off and came back. So we did mention earlier on that we would touch on dual enrollment, and that's a section we're moving into now. So being a homeschooler, dual enrollment is a fantastic opportunity that you really do need to take advantage of while you're still in high school. And I've written some reasons here why you should consider it. One way is that you can actually save some money on college if you do some dual enrollment. For instance, my younger one, we've already got the classes planned out that we'd like her to do her junior and senior year of high school. And it might even shave off a year of college. She doesn't want to graduate college any sooner, but she is talking now about taking a year out and being a student missionary or doing something more valuable with her life than just spending the 4 years in college. So if you want to save a year of college, that's $36,000. So it's a huge financial saving. But I say don't do it just for saving money. There's other reasons why you should do dual enrollment as well. And it's not about pushing your kids early to succeed. I don't believe, some people view it that way, but to give my daughter other opportunities in college I think is a good reason too. You want to be able to do dual enrollment to be able to help improve your ACT or SAT scores. I have a particular example of two students that I worked with last year in the local community who were homeschoolers. When they very first took their ACTs, I think somewhere in the junior year or the summer between junior and senior, they got a 28 and a 29, which are very, very good ACT scores. But they were just shy of a 30, which would mean that they would get an extra $2,000 scholarship. So they were planning on taking it again and trying to get a 30. Well, during their senior year, and they took a very rigorous college writing class, and they took pre-calculus, calculus 1, and calculus 2. And then you're allowed to retake the ACT, SAT score until July 15. So they took it at the end of June, and they happened to score a 32 and a 33.25. And with super scoring, like Ashley mentioned, the one that got the 33.25 got a full 100% tuition scholarship. And I put it down to the classes she did at dual enrollment. because they challenged her beyond. And then the other one was able to get the extra 2,000 and bump it up to the 32 as well. So another reason for dual enrollment. But then looking at dual enrollment, I've also seen where kids have come in with a bit too much dual enrollment, so much so that they're actually burned out. So you've got to be careful to get the right balance. So what is the right balance? Well, our director of college credit for high school students looked up some research, and she believes it sits around 5 classes is the optimum. It's shown that any more than that, they burn out, and any less, they don't really learn the skills that you need to be successful in college. Believe it or not, by taking 1 or 2 classes can help you learn, the time management. It can help you learn how a college professor is different to a high school professor. And to be honest, as a homeschool student, it can teach you how to actually just be in a class and listen to a professor and turn in assignments and know what a professor expects and everything like that. So yes, it definitely does help with learning to be college successful. I like the fact that you can also choose some dual enrollment classes just for class enrichment. It doesn't have to be because it's a class you need for your degree. It can just be because you're kind of fancy the subject. Here at Andrews, we have quite a number of introduction classes. We have intro to nursing, intro to engineering, intro to business, to name just a few. And some of these classes have job shadowing in the classes. So you're able to get some of that Meter Pro perspective arranged for you, and you've got some environment, some aspect of learning new fields. There's things like art and craft and backpacking and rock climbing and swimming and all sorts of classes that you can find like this. So I already touched on that time management, didn't I? It's definitely a skill that needs to be learned for college, is the time management. And by starting small with baby steps, 1 or 2 classes at a time, you're not leaping into it and doing a full load all at once. So there are many benefits to taking part in a dual enrollment program. We just wanted to highlight here at the end some scholarships. Each college or university that you look at is going to have different scholarship packages. Recently, I was doing some research of my own between comparing Andrews' financial package to a local public Michigan University financial package. And we're on the border of Indiana, so I was comparing it also to the closest Indiana university. I found out that state tuition in Indiana is much cheaper than Michigan. So looking at the Michigan University, there was very little scholarships available. And then looking at Andrews with scholarships actually came out to almost the same price, which I was very surprised at, that a state college and Andrews would almost be the same price. So those internal scholarships that universities offer can be very important. By internal scholarships means that if you don't attend that university, you're not going to receive that scholarship. If you leave that college or university, you're not going to take that scholarship with you. That's what I mean by an internal scholarship. Your recruiter or enrollment counselor is going to know all the details there of any scholarship that they might offer. So just start telling them about the things that you're interested in, the things you're doing, and then they might be able to remember that there's another scholarship that fits that. For instance, we've just started doing some athletic scholarships here at Andrews. So by talking about sports, there might be something that matches. So just make sure you're on their mailing list so that if there are any updates or changes, you actually do hear about that. I know that when we do an update here at Andrews, we send out a big mailing to everybody that's in our database. So it's nice to be able to keep up to date with what's going on and what's changing. And then external there's some good things to look at for external scholarships. Zinch.com is a very good resource to go to. You'll be led to different websites when you click their scholarship section, and you'll be able to find out all sorts of different scholarships you can apply for. In some of the research that I've done, I have an autoimmune disease, and believe it or not, there was an external scholarship for an autoimmune disease. There can be a scholarship for women going into engineering because that's not very heard of. So you'll need to think about some niche and then search for scholarships in that niche. And it's amazing actually how few people apply for external scholarships. So you do stand a chance of being able to get one. Yes, it does take time, but you don't pay anything. You don't give out your social security number. That's two things to remember so that you won't get scammed. Just remember that they don't cost anything. And you can start local in your Chamber of Commerce. Local communities sometimes want to support their local students. You also want to be careful about the scholarships you're looking for externally to make sure that if you want to move state, like say you live in Missouri and you decide you want to go to Andrews, will an external scholarship you find pay out of state? So make sure you're not wasting your time on a scholarship that you can't use. So that's important to remember to read the fine detail and make sure it is fitting in with what you want to do. Yeah, so that's the external scholarships. And wanted to share with you now some resources that we have here that I've been using through the advising I do with parents when they come to visit, and they find them all very useful. Recently, Andrew's developed a pre-college page, and I've given you the link there, andrews.edu/pre-college. It has a whole section for homeschoolers. It teaches you how to build a transcript, what classes to think about, as you're building the transcript. And actually, I at this point, I will talk about here a little bit about how do you build a transcript and what subjects should you be picking. We recommend that you do 4 years of English in high school and that you try to get through to pre-calculus or calculus in math. If you've got an English-based student who wants a career in English or serving people, then pre-calculus will probably be high enough and will still get you a reasonably decent score on the ACT, SAT. But if they want to go into engineering or anything medical or sciencey, then it's better to be able to actually finish calculus before you finish high school, because calculus is a prerequisite for a lot of the sciences and the base of any science major that you're doing here in our campus. So I recommend 3 years of English, the pre-calc or calculus and math. 4 years of science is good, science, biology, chemistry, physics. And then the rest can pretty much just be chosen by what you're interested in. Lots of history classes can be done through dual enrollment with college level history. And then you get to pick and choose your music and anything else that you're putting in there. So that's the core that we look at when we're looking at a transcript and the progression through the years there. And that's all in detail on our pre-college website of how to do that. You'll also find on our pre-college website that we do have some online interactive college dual credits that we can offer to any person that would like to do that. Now is the time we're accepting the applications for spring semester, and we've got about 5 or 6 different classes we're offering next semester. So take a look at that and you'll find some resources you can use. If you are interested in Andrews, our undergraduate website, andrews.edu/undergrad, goes into the detail of how and what and where to apply to us for a university. If you're interested in an SDA Adventist education, then visit the AdventistColleges.org website. That's a website that all of us fund, all of us 13 Adventist universities fund, with lots of good information there about applying. Khan Academy. I'm thinking this is that most of you will probably have heard of this by now. I've been on there and done a subject myself so that I can definitely speak for what I recommend. It is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. If you're struggling in math, it's an essential plus. It's also got free SAT prep. What they do is they take a little assessment of what you do know, and they'll make you practice what you don't know. And it's all computer-based, driven with little video clips and interaction like that. It's really very good. And then a lot of you probably are aware of the sdahomeschools.org. And they have a Facebook page, and they have lots of Adventist homeschool curriculum resources on there. So looking for good homeschool curriculums and message boards and just networking with other homeschool families is a really good resource. Okay, so now is the time where we are going to switch to Q&A. So hopefully you've got the questions and we've got the answers. Let's see. Just to remind you that you can still submit lots of questions. What you'll need to do is slide to the top of your page, and you'll find a little Q&A button. And if you click on that, you'll be able to submit a question, and we'll be able to get to an answer. So I think I'll take the first question, if that's okay, Ashley, because
sure,
I kind of know the answer to that one.
Go for it.
Somebody asked how they can watch this presentation again, and where would you go to see it again? Yes, I'm hoping that the recording of this session has gone well, and I've got a nod from our IT guy sitting in here with us that the recording is going well. I know that a lot of homeschoolers are out where bandwidth is not so good, so you might take longer to download it and not be able to live stream. So yes, it is going to be made available. Our next slide is the fact that we are actually going to share our contact information. So if you would like to know where we're going to post it, please email us. It's still to be decided which page it's going to land on our Andrew's website, but it will land on there somewhere. So please, yes, just email me and I'll be happy to send out the link once it goes live. It's going to take us a couple of weeks to get it edited and everything, but it will go out live so that you can watch it again.
Great.
Yeah. Would you like to?
Sure. Yeah, we have a question. I imagine this is regarding Andrew-specific scholarships. They're asking if they can receive a scholarship after sending in their final high school transcript, and also what the other requirements are. So here at Andrews, when we talked about earlier first applying to these colleges. So you would apply to Andrews, make sure we get your ACT or SAT scores, and then a 6-semester transcript. So that was the one we mentioned, that is freshman, sophomore, and junior year. So once you finish your junior year, we can actually offer admissions to you as a student, and we award you scholarships automatically immediately upon acceptance. So you will know at least the merit-based scholarship that you've been awarded from Andrews right away when you're accepted. That information would be in your acceptance letter that you'll receive in the mail and also via email.
Yeah. But that's only an estimate of the scholarship, isn't it?
It is actually, yeah. I think we had mentioned as well, we can accept updated test scores, ACT or SAT, and even when we get your final high school transcript, up until July 15, we can potentially increase that scholarship for you if you're able to get us updated test scores. So we're very happy to reconsider that scholarship level for you. So it's not written in stone necessarily what you receive upon acceptance, but that is certainly a yearly estimate for you. And know that beyond what you're awarded at admissions, there's other scholarships that you can receive as well. So just in the back of your mind, remember maybe some of the external scholarships you've applied for, even a leadership award, for instance. That requires a separate application here, an easy application, but a separate one. There's others that are matching scholarships for summer camp or working through Mega Books, which is a literature evangelism program. So there's a couple different scholarship options that you could receive beyond just the merit-based one. And as far as other requirements, I mean, for admissions, it's ACT or SAT scores, it's a 6-semester high school transcript, and then we end up receiving 2 non-family references on your application. So those are essentially your document requirements for admissions.
But we can only speak for Andrews on those requirements, so you want to make sure you just read the fine print closely of whatever college or university website that you're surfing around on.
Definitely.
Because we're not all the same. Yes, definitely. I don't know if we explained things clearly, but we had 2 questions come in. So
it means we did a good job, hopefully.
We're going to go through to the wrap-up process now, which means we might finish 10 or 15 minutes early on our presentation. But if you do have any other questions, just submit them and we'll put them in right before we sign off. So please feel free. Questions haven't closed yet, but I'll let Ashley go ahead here.
Yeah. So we hope we've done a decent job in sharing you some information that's really specific to you as a homeschooler or homeschool parent. We hope that you are still awake and with us. It's hard to tell, but Kayleen and I, as you know, are both representatives here for Andrew. So we didn't want to leave the session without at least offering you the opportunity to find out more information about our particular school and also, of course, visiting our campus. We take very seriously the transition process for you or your child from high school to college. And please just know that our enrollment team here, along with one-on-one academic advising from our program professors, we have career counseling here on campus and various other resources that are here to help you as you transition into college. So you're not just kind of dumped off here and left to fend for yourself. We're all here to assist you in that process. And I'd like to share just a little info about Andrews. If you know, of course, we're a private faith-based school, and along the lines of finances, you probably have maybe a general understanding that private schools are typically a little bit more expensive, which is not far from the truth, but private schools usually have a lot more money in scholarship that we're able to offer students. So looking into scholarships, as we've mentioned in detail, is really important. Here at Andrews, financially, we really strive to make it as affordable as we possibly can. We mentioned meeting with your financial advisor, letting them get to know you and your family on a personal level, letting them in as much as you're comfortable is going to help them in finding various different funds and grants for you as a family. Again, Andrews offers, as far as scholarships go, our main merit-based scholarship, the one that's awarded automatically on acceptance, goes all the way up to full tuition. Not only do we honor national merit finalists with full tuition, but we also we offer full tuition to students who get a 34 or higher composite score on the ACT. I believe that's a 1490 on the SAT composite.
For the critical reading and math component only, not the writing.
Yeah. We don't require the writing portion for either the ACT or SAT. And of course, know that there's scholarships beyond just that one that we offer. So that URL we offered earlier, and actually it's on your screen right now, andrews.edu/undergrad. You can explore all of our admissions requirements, links to our academic program websites, and all the scholarships that you could be eligible for as well. There's a few things we really like to highlight about Andrews, and perhaps you know some of these facts already, but they're really part of what makes Andrews special. And Andrews actually is the only Adventist university ranked as a top national university by U.S. News and World Report. The same organization ranks Andrews as a top research university, meaning you as a student could actually start research starting out as a freshman here on our campus and do it through all 4 years of your college experience here. We're ranked second in the nation for ethnic diversity. That always blows my mind with us being in this tiny town of Berrien Springs, but yeah, second in the nation for ethnic diversity. We're proud of our STEM programs as well, our science-based programs. They were recognized nationally very recently for being one of the best STEM programs among small private colleges. We have about 130 different undergraduate degrees that we offer, but I like to mention a few that are particularly unique to our campus. One of those is architecture. Not only do they have a master's degree tied to architecture, but it's actually one of the only, out of about 3 or so architecture programs in the US and the country that has a Christian focus in the classroom. And it's kind of all the A's that are popular here on campus. We also have aviation, agriculture, and animal science. If you didn't know, our campus is actually a state arboretum, so it's really beautiful. I don't know if you can see that out our window today. It's a little bit rainy, but a really beautiful campus, and it's actually 1,600 acres. So that's in large part due to the air park that we own for our aviation students, along with our fields and fields of agriculture, agricultural fields, and also our dairy farm on campus. So another one, physical therapy, is a big one. Our School of Education is ranked top in this top tier in the state of Michigan here. So those are just a few things that we love about Andrews and make us really unique and special. So I want to invite you, if you've never physically been on our campus before, to schedule a visit, and you can do that through this same website that's listed on your screen, or you can go there directly by going to andrews.edu/visit. Coming physically to a campus that you're considering is really the most ideal. We see it time and time again, I say, for students who that really helps them make that crucial decision on where to go. We actually cover up to 2 nights of lodging and meals for you and your family when you come here to campus. So we want to make it possible for you to visit us here in Berrien Springs, Michigan. But if you can't, we also want to invite you to join us for our virtual visit or our virtual preview. We have 2 coming up, one on December 2 and one on January 27. I think both Kayleen and myself will be involved in that. It'll be a similar setting as this, but more specific to Andrews and our scholarships and such. So please join us there. If you sign up to get information from us, you should receive communication with a particular special URL to connect with us on those days as well. And if you come for a physical visit on campus or participate in this virtual preview coming up, we would love to offer you a free Andrews t-shirt. So we hope that you'll consider participating in these upcoming events. You can, as I said, register for those online, and we really hope to see you and get to meet you one day.
Thank you, Ashley. So, yes.
Yeah.
Just wrapping up now, finally. Here's the contact information for myself or for Ashley with our email and our phone numbers. So if you've got follow-up questions that you think of after the webinar, after we go off air, then please just feel free to email us. And we'll be happy to help you out with those answers and find out some answers for you. We've already had confirmation that we did quote the right amount on the SAT
Good.
of $14.90.
Thank you.
I think our boss is listening in here with you.
Must be.
Yeah, so for the SAT, if for our full ride scholarship, it's $14.90 for critical reading and math components of those. Mm-hmm. So yes, a copy of this webinar is going to be posted, and if you did pre-register for this webinar, then I have your email and I'll be emailing you. But if you didn't, please do reply to the email that you received advertising this webinar or the emails that you see on the screen here, and we'll be happy to help you find where we post it on our webpage. I've certainly enjoyed talking with you for this last time here, and I hope you found it to be valuable and useful as you are preparing your child for their calling for God's kingdom. And just realize that we do pray for prospective students and our students during our department worships, and we'll be praying that you'll be making some good decisions with God being the center and with the choices that you'll be making.
Absolutely.
I want to sign off and say God bless.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Take care, everybody.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.